In this video, I will tell you the future. I will tell you exactly what will happen in 2024, how to play out this year to make generational wealth in crypto. Welcome back, my name is Stan, I'm the CEO and co-founder of international custom software development company where we build software products for the city of New York, SAP and General Electric and a range of other companies. I have 200 people under management, and in this video I'm sharing my crypto journey in terms of making $10 million from $500K following high uncertainty, low risk crypto strategy. 2024 boys, happy new year, new targets, new wishes, new dreams, new work, new world that you have to capture. I think we're definitely staying in a very interesting time in history. I think we're staying in the shift of civilization. I think things that are happening currently in the upcoming decade, they might shape the way of how the world will work for upcoming 50 to 70 years, which is quite crazy and quite huge by itself. But we're not looking into the full picture at this stage. We're looking just into 2024 because this is what we want to play out. We want to play this out, right? I would be sharing my strategy, my thought process, my data, so you can analyze, you can input your data sets and make your decision based on this as well. I see 6 main bull market catalysts at this stage. The first one is election in the US, which will happen around November actually. BTC and ETH ETF, yes, you heard it right, ETH ETF. Legal tender BTC in third world countries. Quantitative easing by Fed. Halving, BlackRock stocks tokenization, and assets tokenization. So let's start with the first one. I would not be showing a lot of charts and a lot of tabs on this video. I will probably just do the token from my end. In terms of the election in the US, so it's obviously a bullish event. It will happen at the end of 2024. And the core thing in terms of the election in any nation, because any president in any nation, he's doing that. He's basically improving the way how people live, especially in his target population of people. For some presidents, it may be like older people, for some presidents it's younger people, for some presidents it's like certain states and things like that. They care about the improvement of how people live, basically. What are the prices, how much money people make, and the easiest way through the whole of history is just give people money. There are several ways that the president can give people money. The easiest way is stock market. And it's kind of like the most white way, I would say, in terms of actually it's not being gray, it's not being shady. It's just being a very legal, very straight way in terms of just pumping up the prices of the stock market so everyone is making money, everyone is happy. And if you would check out the news, already at the end of 2023, the current president of the US is being pushed forward by the fact that the stock market is at all-time highs. And obviously everyone understands that once people would be voting next year, they will be not voting on the results of the stock market a year before. So not on the results of the stock market currently. They will be voting based on the results of the stock market in a year from now. That would be the main thing that they would be making the decision on. One of the main things. There are some other things like just giving money straight away to people like it was done during COVID and things like that, which is quite interesting by itself. But election is obviously bullish because current people who are in power, they would want to stay in power. They would be pumping the market. They would be injecting more capital. They would be pushing the Fed and other essential institutions to pump the whole thing up. And it is basically one of the most bullish events in terms of this whole thing, in terms of actually the market pumping. As the second event, we have BTC and ETH ETF. Yes, you heard it right. ETH ETF as well. So in terms of the BTC ETF, we see that like worst case scenario for it is being approved in March. So in terms of the current situation, ETF is not approved yet. And I think that there's a high chance that it will be approved in upcoming 2 weeks, just at the start of January, because a lot of papers that are being submitted and a lot of people like, and these ETF platforms, like they are launching commercials already. So they would probably not be launching commercials if they would not expect ETF to come out live as well. An interesting thing in terms of the ETF is, let's say you're an institution and let's say you have a bunch of BTC, and BTC is kind of shady because it's hard for you to kind of make BTC not shady, but actually turn it into like taxable money that you can spend and things like that. You might probably be doing it currently, but it's probably kind of expensive. So through the introduction of ETF, they would be able to turn this shady money into proper money. They would be able to spend, to invest and things like that. So I think this is one of the things that might be happening because they might have bought, they probably most definitely bought BTC and cryptocurrencies already, mostly BTC, and they're looking to capitalize on the investments by essentially adding the money that are locked in BTC currently getting them off through the ETF and essentially making sure that they can spend them, that they can invest them and things like that. So following this narrative and following these things that might be happening, they can actually be dumping the price of the BTC after we would essentially see ETF launching, as they would want to sell off the assets and things like that. That's basically just one theory of the whole thing. And this is pretty stable because at each company, you would probably often have money that you would want to kind of deduct taxes from, pay someone as a contractor, like send them to some other jurisdiction to remove amount of taxes. And these people are the same. And these people are the best at it because they would be spending the largest amount of money if they would actually be paying like 100% taxes, which they're probably not paying. In terms of the other interesting things that might be happening, so we have the narrative that with the BRC20's implementation, miners, they are making the most amount of money currently. So their revenue is just crazy. With all the new means and all the craziness that is going around BRC20's, fees to send transactions in BTC chain, they increased. Therefore, they're making more money. I think one of the reasons of why we historically saw dips around halving event is because miners, they understand that after halving, essentially the amount of money that they will be making decreases in two. So they're looking to sell out their BTC that they've mined so far to take some profits. And I think this is one of the reasons that the current pump is actually happening. And I think this is one of the reasons why we might see the dump after the launch of ETF essentially, because it's just, I think like these are people as well. And if they understand that BTC caught local top and we won't go higher, I think they can just start dumping the whole thing just to make sure they can capitalize on the profits. Because with mining is definitely a long-term business. You need to plan things like 4 years ahead. And there are definitely periods for them where they are mining in net negative and when they're taking profits as well. And it might be nice things to take the chunk of the profits, especially if the BlackRock and the companies like that, they will be dumping BTC through ETF, transferring into real cash. And at the same time, the miners would be essentially selling BTC to take some of the profits on the funds that they were able to collect recently. Because we're all sure about 100k Bitcoin, 150k Bitcoin, but if you're in business, you can't basically just be working on these things. You can't just be making decisions based on some type of projections, on some type of things that other people think, because no one actually knows what's going to happen. So we have these two kind of catalyst events and things like that. The other interesting thing that might happen with ETF is that it won't make much sense for the companies who are launching their ETFs to dump Bitcoin a lot, because it's just bad ads. It's just bad marketing, because ETF just launched and the asset instantly dumped. So they basically just dumped on all the people who were buying, which is kind of interesting. And some people saying that with the introduction of ETF, funds like BlackRock, they would just keep the price of the BTC at a certain level and just show like 20% increase in terms of the asset year by year, just to make sure more and more people are actually entering the asset and buying it from them, which is quite interesting and quite nice by itself. So many things might happen. I think that approval of the ETF is a bullish event. Launch of the ETF is the bearish sellout event. And I would be looking to take some profits at the event of the launch, of the actual launch of ETF. Once essentially it would be launched and people would be able to trade BTC through the ETF as well. One of the things about ETF is that they would probably need to hold some BTC, although they're probably following the same thing as banks are following, and they can give away like $10 and only hold $1. I think with the ETF, it might be the same thing. So like BlackRock, they would be able to, for example, sell 10 BTC, but at the same time only hold 1 BTC. It's kind of interesting from this point of view, but at the same time, the asset is just crazy by itself, and they can lose a lot of money if they won't be holding enough BTC, because if it surges up a lot and people would want to take profits, it would be very, very hard for them to give away these profits in case that they're not holding any BTC. So it might be bullish because they would also need to hold a certain amount of BTC, although I think they have a lot of BTC already. They just need to kind of make it not shady, not green, and transfer it into real money, into real cash as well. And yeah, in terms of the ETF as well, there is a high chance that ETH ETF will be coming as well. I know some people who are working in New York in essentially funds that are connected with ETH who are helping like institutions and larger companies and private investors get into ETH as well. So there is this business already present in New York, which is financial capital of the world. So I think it's quite interesting, and this is one of the reasons of why I'm bullish on ETH. So I think in terms of the alt season that we should see in upcoming 2 months, I think catalyst for this alt season might be the news about ETH ETF after the approval of BTC ETF, but definitely once we would see BTC ETF approval, we would definitely see ETH ETF approval as well. The third catalyst is legal tender BTC in third world countries. So it's quite interesting by itself because we see countries like El Salvador essentially implementing BTC 2 years back, and they're doing mining based on the volcano, and I think they're selling some shares that you can buy some shares and actually get something from them mining BTC on the volcano. We see countries like Argentina and maybe Turkey moving into the whole thing as well, but Turkey will actually be huge by itself, and a lot of countries in South America too. We have some engineers on the team who are essentially helping to implement BTC economy in El Salvador, so I might have some more information in terms of the insights, but I won't be sharing it on the channel as well. And it's quite interesting that more and more countries might basically be getting into this whole thing, and it usually starts with smaller countries and then it proceeds to larger countries as well, and I think it might be a very, very nice choice for the country if the local currency is getting dumped on currently. And I'm myself from a smaller country, let's say, and not like the largest economy in the world as well, and our currency, I think it was like denominated like several times, it was inflated like a lot of times. So I think this is the issue that each and every like smaller country basically face with. So if they don't have alternatives like euro or like dollar, and they're not a large country, definitely makes sense to have a third option like BTC essentially implemented. So I think these are some news that we should definitely hear in 2024, and they would pump the price of BTC as well. Point number 4, which is quantitative easing by Fed. In simple words, it's money printing. Different people, they're saying they're giving different estimates in terms of when they would actually start to print money. And there are estimates that it will happen in September or October, like largest chance that it will happen in September and October of 2024. There are some chances that they might be doing it in March, in April as well, just to make sure probably that they would have like a certain amount of time to print enough of money before the election to be able to distribute it into the population, things like that. So these are just my thoughts in this stage. But it's a pretty bullish event by itself. If you would remember COVID pump, it basically happened like the bull market of 2021 happened because of the government of US essentially printing money due to the situation with COVID and things like that. So I think the same thing might happen in our scenario as well, which would be quite bullish by itself. And there is a high chance that they would start be doing this in September or October of 2024. The point number 5 is halving. So it's most straightforward thing that you can understand. Supply is less, demand is higher. So essentially the price of the asset goes up as well. We saw each year that with the halving, essentially the price of the BTC was increasing. And interesting thing that the price of the BTC was not increasing at the halving event. So it was increasing after some time. I think at 1.5 years after the halving. So that's why we have these projections in terms of the end of 2025 being the peak of the bull market. But as mentioned, if I would be able to reach my target at 2024, I would just take my money and just run away from the market because this is my target. And if not, I would just be, even if I would make my money by the end of 2024, I would still leave the chunk of money in the market till the end of 2025 because there's just high chance of these things happening, although everyone is just saying about them. So, market always plays it in the way that things are happening that not a lot of people are talking about. If a lot of people are talking about one thing, that probably the other one would essentially happen. So there is definitely a certain risk strategy that should be applied here in terms of how you would be playing to play this out as well. And thing number 6, BlackRock stocks tokenization and assets tokenization. So me essentially working in custom software development, we had quite a few projects at the end of the last bull market that were about tokenization of real estate. I was doing quite a lot of presentations, so I essentially got into the topic by a lot. Algorand was essentially doing the conference in Dubai last year. It was the conference that they spent 6 million on, so quite large by itself. I think 6 or 2. And and it's just for the conference. And the CTO of Algorand on stage, he mentioned that they just closed 200 million contract with Indian government to tokenize some of the real estate. So the main reason for tokenization, I think real estate is like tokenization of real estate is the market that would make billionaires, but probably current billionaires will just become richer, which is quite interesting, because to be able to tokenize assets, to tokenize real estate into NFTs, you actually need a lot of support from government, from the way how the laws are set up and things like that. In the future, I see that the apartment or the house that you are sitting in, it would be represented as NFT. So you would be able to put your apartment or house as an NFT on the market, and someone else would be able to buy it as an NFT. So you would not even know about the guy and things like that. I think there should be some 3D representations just of your house, of your area and things like that, which are present on the market already, by the way. And this opportunity of essentially tokenizing real estate is providing the ability to the market to create the whole trading and futures and derivatives based on the real estate. And if you would really think about real estate, kind of the way how the market works, it did not change like for thousands of years already. It's exactly the same process. We had the revolution in terms of digitalizing different industries, and different industries, they changed a lot, but real estate, it didn't change by a bit. And I think once we would be able to put our apartments and houses on like NFT marketplace and sell them out at NFTs, we'd be able to long and short them. We will be able to have fractional ownership with them, and we will be able to own like a bit of large building and I don't know, like get into the short on the price of certain property and things like that. It would be accessible, because currently if a guy from China would want to buy property in Italy, he can't do that. It's a complex process of essentially getting the IDs, the documents, residency and things like that. He can't do that currently. And with kind of introduction of tokenized assets, they basically increase the amount of the transactions. They decrease the cost of the transactions, because we would probably not need middlemen. They would increase the speed of the transactions. They will unlock the liquidity, because a lot of liquidity is locked in real estate assets at this stage. And it's quite interesting once it will essentially be unlocked. And therefore, with unlocked liquidity, with the increased speed of transactions, we will definitely see more liquidity coming in the real estate market. It's the largest market in the world currently. So it's definitely going to shift, to change, to digitalize, to improve, to upgrade. This is just like great catalyst that I'm bullish on. So it's just the tokenization of one asset, which is real estate. And BlackRock, like we are working currently as a company, we are working on the projects right now that are doing the tokenization of stocks. So we are doing it. We are working on these type of projects as a custom software development company, like right as I speak to you, right as I'm recording this video. That's a very bullish narrative. Unfortunately, it's mostly controlled by institutions, and they would be interested to keep it this way, to basically have control over the whole thing, to have it centralized. Despite that fact, we have things like Airbnb, we have things like Uber, and I think we should have the next thing similar to them, with essentially tokenized real estate assets that people will be able to transfer, to buy, to fractionally own, to short and long as well. So this is my overview in terms of the 2024 bull market catalysts. One of the things that I have from my end is that I think that they can't just start money printing right away, because population would have a lot of questions in terms of why they're doing that. Because when money is being printed, usually poor people are the ones that are suffering, because cash reserves and essentially the like small amount of assets that are not generating cash, that are liabilities to them, they are getting inflated. So they decrease in value. Therefore, these people, they are not happy. And in order not to like provoke these people, they would have to create some type of terrible event like COVID essentially, in order to make sure that they would be able to do something like this. And it might be a nuclear war. It might be some things happening with the banks. By the way, guys, do not be afraid of nuclear war. I'm from the land around Chernobyl, and I was not alive at the time when Chernobyl happened, but it definitely affected my parents. And a lot of my friends, they're just taking medicine from birth. Some of them, they have 2 cocks, but it's fine. You can have sex with your girlfriend and your mom at the same time, so it's just fine. And in terms of bank crashing, so if you would remember 2008 situation where basically you were not able to withdraw the amount of money that you wanted to withdraw from your bank account. So I remember in the UK, you were only able to withdraw like £100 a day. And these type of limitations that might be introduced as well if we would see the same type of crash. And that's why I'm kind of cautious about having some cash with me when something like this might happen. And at the same time, basically have enough stable coins as well, because there might be a case that you will not be able to buy any stable coins because your transactions, they're just like limited at $100 a day, which would make it crazy by itself. And it will be harder to access these crypto assets. Some people, they're saying about the fact that we should see Ethereum at $500 and things like that. And if you would check ETH from the peaks of the last market, it only went down 4x. So it's quite interesting. I think BTC went down 4x as well. And ETH is definitely lower than BTC. And it definitely gives us interesting thoughts on the things that we might see ETH lower. But it's just like a conspiracy theory at this stage. I just would want to put it in your eyes as well. So how I would be planning to play it, as mentioned, I do plan to inject stable amounts of cash in the market on a monthly basis. I do increase the pile of cash that I have for a Black Swan event that I think should happen before they would start printing money. I'm planning to buy at least 2 dips, major dips. One around halving and one regarding the Black Swan event that might be happening at the end of the summer, just before they would essentially turn on the money printer in September and October. So this is the projection that I have. There's a high chance that this might happen. This is how I'm planning to play it out. And I do always think to leave cash separately, have something in the bank, different banks, have something in cash as well, and have something stable coins too, with the funds that I would be planning to enter the market, because there might be the case that you won't be able to buy stable coins because of the limitations of the banking system crashing. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.